Dear viewers, immigration rules are frequently changing, which is very important for migrant community and all of us. Why won't the world tackle the refugee crisis? Are the High Court judges under pressure by government policy? How deporting people silently? Why immigration detention center misbehaves with detainees? Is the immigration enforcement used by government lawfully? How immigrants are victim of domestic violence? What will be the UK relationship with the European Union after Brexit? Fear spreads. Protests across the world. We should know the reality. I try to collect all the latest immigration news regularly. If you like this video, please stay with us to follow my Facebook page and YouTube channel, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share with your friends. Let's go to the news. Number of people detained for longer than 6 months under Immigration Act powers increases by 10%. Campaigners say figures show the urgent need for reform of a bloated detention system and accuse the government of failing to act on scathing findings last year. Right to rent immigration checks, increasing pressure on the property rental market. The government introduced the Right to Rent scheme in the Immigration Act 2014, aimed at creating a hostile environment for illegal migrants by limiting their access to basic needs such as housing and health care. UK deports 35 Nigerians for immigration offences. The United Kingdom has deported 35 Nigerians for alleged immigration offences in that country. The deportees, who arrived at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos in the early hours of Wednesday, comprised 30 males and 5 females. Landmark court cases that could affect UK immigration law. This coming week we are expecting delivery of a landmark court case that might affect UK immigration law. Delivery of the second landmark case is expected at a later stage. Freedom of dual British nationals could be curtailed. Right of appeal of extended family members. Abingdon immigration expert says UK could be heading for Brexit brain drain. Migration figures published today by the Office for National Statistics show a decline of 84,000 in 2016 compared to 2015, along with a new increase in emigration among EU and British nationals. Theresa May's cruel immigration policies would put my job and my family at risk. After years of passing laws which make it harder for people like me to stay in the country, immigration policies laid out in the Tory manifesto could finally force us out of the UK, tearing families apart. Cut immigration and the UK's economic prospects will just get worse. Anti-immigrant politicians often say they simply want to debate on migration. Yet targets around net migration are being proposed without a rational debate about the country's future economic needs. Workers fear automation more than immigration, survey finds. Workers are more worried about losing their jobs to machines or because of the falling value of the pound than immigration, a report has said. Results show that the average worker is much more unnerved by the prospect of being replaced by a machine and companies moving jobs abroad, rather than competition from immigration. Conservatives' migration target threatens economy, report finds. Cutting immigration to the tens of thousands will slow growth, analysis claims. Reducing UK immigration to the tens of thousands, as the Conservatives have promised, will damage the economy by undermining the dynamism and creativity of Britain, according to a new report. migration to UK dropped by 84,000 in 2016. Net long-term migration to the UK was 248,000 in 2016, down 84,000 from 2015, the UK government announced Thursday. Net migration to UK plunges to below 250,000 after exodus of European workers in wake of Brexit. Warnings of skills shortages were issued today after net immigration fell due to an exodus of European workers after the Brexit referendum. Construction firms said new housing and infrastructure was under threat by a growing shortage of bricklayers, carpenters and other skilled construction workers from Eastern Europe. Experts said London's restaurants, hotels and coffee shops could have to rethink their business models if the loss of young Europeans becomes worse. Leading universities also echoed fears of losing key staff. Official figures released this morning showed net long-term immigration falling in 2016 below 250,000 for the first time in nearly 3 years. What do the general election manifestos say about immigration? Labour and Conservative policies in 2017 compared. Labour. 1. Freedom of movement will end when Britain leaves the EU. 2. There will be fair rules and reasonable management of migration, without a numerical target. 3. The Migrant Impact Fund will be reinstated. 4. The minimum income threshold which stopped British citizens from bringing in spouses from outside Europe unless they earn £18,600 will be dropped, and replaced with an obligation not to rely on benefits. 5. Bosses who tried to undercut wages using migrant workers will face a crackdown. Conservatives. 1. Net immigration will supposedly be cut below 100,000 a year, a target the Tories have never even come close to meeting in 7 years, and which many wanted ditched. 2. Students will still be kept in net migration figures despite pleas to take them out. 3. The immigration skills charge will be doubled, making firms pay up to £10,000 for each non-EU worker. 4. The immigration health surcharge for foreigners using the NHS will rise to £600 for migrant workers, from £200, and £450 for international students, from £150. 5. The Migration Advisory Committee will be asked to recommend on a new visa strategy. 6. The Tories will work to reduce asylum claims by refugees instead of committing to take more of them. Cutting immigration to tens of thousands would inflict £115 billion of damage on the economy, says think tank. The Centre for Economics and Business Research estimates reducing net immigration below 100,000 a year would make the economy between 4.1% and 5.7% smaller by 2030. The Brexit effect. The fall in EU migration spells trouble for the UK. The 84,000 fall in net migration to 248,000 will harm an economy that is dependent on immigration. Apple's Jonathan Ive says immigration vital for UK firms. The UK must keep its doors open to top talent from around the world if its technology firms are to thrive, Apple's chief designer has told the BBC. Sir Jonathan Ive, who has just been appointed Chancellor of the Royal College of Art, also said that technology hubs like Silicon Valley had a tremendous cultural diversity. Britain's small businesses overwhelmingly reject Tory manifesto. Theresa May's manifesto risks losing the Conservatives their image as the party of business, the Daily Telegraph can disclose, after Britain's small companies overwhelmingly rejected their policies and questioned the lack of costing in the policy diktat. Is UKIP's Burka ban doing Muslim women a favour? Muslim women across the country will undoubtedly be raising their hands in unreserved thanks to Paul Nuttall. The UKIP leader had warned us all that a burqa ban would form part of the party's manifesto. This is not surprising, given the party's strongly held views, opinions on face coverings and Islam. He has long spoken out about the importance of seeing people's faces in public for the purposes of integration. Yet what none of us could have foreseen was his reason for wanting to ban full-face veils, as stated in the UKIP election manifesto, because they prevent intake of essential vitamin D from sunlight. Turns out, he only has Muslim women's best interests at heart. But if that's the case, why stop there? Theresa May survived her Andrew Neil interview by debating his every attack. Less than a week ago, Theresa May seemed to be cruising to a landslide election victory. Then came her explosively controversial manifesto. With this glaring unforced error, she seemed like a golfer who only needed a short putt to win the Open, then took out a driver and blasted the ball far into a lake. The case of Stoli Jankovic. What are the 10 and 20-year rules on long residence? What is the 10-year rule on long residence? Paragraph 276b of the immigration rules enables a person with 10 continuous and lawful years of residence in the UK to apply for indefinite leave to remain. Not many migrants will qualify for residence in this way because it is unusual to have 10 continuous lawful years of residence. And there are complications and qualifications. The Tory lie of a global Brexit. Britain is a divide-and-rule tactic aimed at migrants. Non-EU citizens resident in the UK were told that things would get easier for them when the country could take control of EU immigration, and during the referendum campaign Priti Patel launched a Save Our Curry Houses appeal. Leave specifically stated that the country's immigration policy was hamstrung by its EU membership, and thus a vote for Brexit was a vote for fewer restrictions on allowing more immigration from outside Europe. The way asylum seekers are treated in the UK is a silent scandal. We may be on different sides of the table, but legal aid lawyers like me feel the anxiety of the Home Office caseworkers who lose sleep over a failing system. Man arrested after immigration officers and police raid takeaway. A man was arrested after immigration officers raided a Wearside takeaway shop and found a man who had overstayed his visa. Officers arrested a 26-year-old Indian man who was found to have overstayed his visa. Kebab shop manager faces £20,000 fine after immigration officials carry out nighttime raid. Immigration enforcement officers swooped on Marmari's Kebab and Pizza, in the Broadway, at about 11 p.m. on Friday. When immigration checks were carried out, officials discovered that a 43-year-old Turkish man had overstayed his visa. Arrests made at Jalsaga, St. Owens Street, Hereford. Immigration enforcement officers visited the Jalsaga, a specialist in Indian and Bangladeshi cuisine, on Hereford's St. Owens Street last Friday night. A spokesman for the Home Office said, 3 Bangladeshi men aged 28, 39 and 44 were arrested as they were found to have overstayed their visas. They were detained while steps are taken to remove them from the UK. Thank you for staying with me. See you in the next video.